excited. We have 4 more days to go. We have the most amazing candidate in Doug Jones. And, you know, the nation, the world is really watching Alabama. And we have a chance to really move forward or move backwards. I say we move forward with Doug Jones. And I think this is really about us. I mean, you know, Doug is, I think, the perfect contrast to the other opponent. There's only one person in this race that has earned our vote. I believe that that's Doug Jones. And I know you know that as well. And when I think about fighting for all the things that we care about, health care, education, it's Doug Jones that will actually do that for us. So I'm so excited to be here in my hometown and to welcome our special guests in my hometown and to really kick us off as our hometown mayor, my mayor from Selma, Alabama. Great city in Selma, Alabama.
Let me say again, good morning. Thank you all for being here. My favorite. Thank you for having us in your church, your hometown. Pastor Strong and to all the church members here, thank you for inviting us into this place. Well, when we look at our city, Selma, going all the way back to 1865, that was God's hand saying that Selma would play a huge role in the story of America. On the bloodstained fields of the Civil War, 100 years later, 1965, to the bloodstained bridge, that Selma entered into an area whereby we would change not just the city, not just the state, but America and the world over.
Yes.
And so today, as we talk about Selma being a change agent, we are so excited and happy to have with us, all the way from Massachusetts, who is a change agent himself. I've been following him for years. He didn't know it. He has been a mentor to me. Just words. I never speak just words. That it matters what we do in this day and age, and to have great leadership because of what took place in Selma. Congresswoman Sewell is a daughter of Selma, but there's those who are part of the Selma diaspora, I would say, who today, Governor Val Patrick is here with us today. Can you show him a warm Selma welcome?
Two-term governor of Massachusetts.
How about that? How about that? But I still have my favorite and most important title, and that's citizen. And that's why I'm here today. I want to thank the congressman and the mayor for their always warm welcome. The mayor was asking me if I'd ever been to Selma before, and I see you. I love your side. I told him that I tried my first few cases in Alabama, including alongside Hank and Rose Sanders and J.L. Chestnut. We defended the Perry County 3 against Jeff Sessions and his attack on black voting rights. I've spent a lot of time in Alabama with Alabama people. I used to be able to say it. With Alabama people, and I love you and I love being here. And I'm honored to be here. I want to acknowledge in his absence Pastor Strong and Trustee Sewell. Thank you thank you for having us in this very important and sacred place, and for all of the stewardship that you have given in this place, which has helped us keep both our Christian faith and our civic faith.
Yes.
And I thank you for that. And I'm glad you're all here. This is not where the action is, though. The action's outside. The action is with your neighbors, with your friends, your families, with the people who agree with us, and most especially the people who don't. Because this candidate is running to serve everybody. This candidate is about asking us to turn to each other instead of on each other, right? This candidate is about how we heal a fractured place, a fractured state, and a fractured country. And Alabama needs that voice, this voice. So you've got a lot of people coming here to Alabama during this race from out of town. And maybe I should tell you who I am, because that'll tell you a little bit about why I'm here. I grew up on the south side of Chicago, most of that time in poverty, in the 50s and 60s. I lived there with my mother and my sister, my grandparents, and various other relatives who came and went, in our grandparents' 2-bedroom tenement. I tell the story about how my mother and sister and I shared one of those bedrooms and a set of bunk beds, so you go from the top bunk to the bottom bunk to the floor, every third night on the floor. I went to, it's funny now, I went to, you know, big, broken, overcrowded, under-resourced public schools. There are a whole lot of things we didn't have. I don't remember owning a book of my own until I was 14 years old and got a break through a scholarship to go to a boarding school outside of Boston. It was like landing on a different planet. But we had a community. Because that was a time when every child was under the jurisdiction of every single adult on the block.
Yes.
You messed up down the street in front of Miss Jones and she'd go upside your head as if you were her. And then call home. So you got it, right? What those adults were trying to tell us was that membership in a community is understanding the stake that you have in your neighbor's dreams and struggles, as well as your own. That we have a generational responsibility. To do what we can to leave things better for those who come behind us. It's an old-fashioned but a timeless message. And those principles are at stake and at risk in our country.
Yes.
And they are at stake and at risk in this election. And that is why I'm here. I want to be absolutely clear. I'm not interested in running anybody down. I'm not here on account of the other candidate. We don't have to tear each other apart to build anybody up. I'm tired of that kind of politics. I hope you are too. We need to be about how we lift us all up and how we lean forward and how we commit to an agenda which is not about government solving every problem in everybody's life, but doing what government can to help us help ourselves. Why? Because as one really brilliant former congressman put it, government is just the name we give to the things we choose to do together. It's all about how we build community. We, all of us, have a chance to help rebuild community and restore a sense of common cause in this election. We have a candidate who has proven through a life of service his leadership. He has proven that he is not just of the people of Alabama, but for the people of Alabama, and those principles that will make Alabama a better place and a more significant and important voice for which we are hungry in Washington. Ladies and gentlemen, with your help and God's, your next United States Senator, Doug Jones.
It's always great to be back in Selma. You know, and I couldn't help but think as we were talking, you know, as we started this campaign, I was here early on during the primary, and I heard it all the time, you know, well, Doug, you know, what are the odds that you can win this election? And if I just had a crystal ball, all I had to say was, it's about the same odds as getting snow in Selma on So, look, I can't really say much more than what the governor said, what Terry said, what the mayor said. This is a unique opportunity and a unique moment in time for the state. For the first time in a generation, we've got an opportunity to really put a lot of things to bed, to kind of redeem our soul a little bit, and to start going forward as a state, bringing people together and talk about it. It's really incredible out there what we're seeing across the state. The people that have come and are working with us, the people that have volunteered. Terry, I don't know if you know this, but as of, I think it was Wednesday or Thursday of this week, our volunteers, which number in the thousands and thousands, we crossed an important milestone of having made, not robocalls to telephones with recordings, but a volunteer picking up a telephone, dialing a number, and getting somebody on the phone. We have made over 1 million phone calls. It's an extraordinary effort, but it's also very humbling for me. My wife, who who asked me what I was going to do today, and I was going to be, inside with the governor and with the congressman, and she's out in the cold knocking on doors in Birmingham, and she said, "What's wrong with that picture?" But it has been, it's been such an exciting time for us as we go down to the finish line to make sure that we get our folks out. That's the critical thing. Every election is about turnout, but a special election, it's so important. And what we've been trying to do, and with all that you're hearing, with all the noise that you're hearing, I mean, it's, and look, I've had to get engaged in that a good bit, and in the next couple of days, it's going to get pretty ugly, because somebody in this race is pretty desperate right now, and it ain't me. Okay? Now, I want to make sure that we continue to contrast me and Roy Moore, but a lot of people are doing that for us. We're staying in our lane as best I can to talk about health care, to talk about jobs, to talk about being a partner to this congresswoman and this mayor and other ones across this state, because that's what's needed. A real and true partner in the United States Senate to help the workforce development programs that these two good public servants have going on down here, to bring in jobs and to train people to have those jobs. That's so important. The other thing I know Terry is working on a lot is rural hospitals. You know, if we don't do something about health care and shoring up Medicaid and Medicare, we are going to lose more and more rural hospitals. There's some teetering right now. And when you lose that hospital, you lose not only the ability to get health care, you lose an economic engine for a neighborhood, and you can't attract those jobs. So we're working on that. We are out there. We've got such a tremendous effort, and the wind has been at our back because of the issues. One of the things that I'm proudest of in this campaign, and my wife and I said early on when we decided that we would do this, that we would stay true no matter which direction this campaign went. We were going to stay true to what we said in the primary when we were talking to just Democrats, as we would in the general election when we're talking to everybody. And it doesn't matter whether I'm down here at Brown Chapel or I'm with the Chamber of Commerce in Huntsville, Alabama. The messages are the same. These are the issues that we have in common. That's the one most important thing that has come, I think, just absolutely we've come to understand that we have so many more issues that we have in common than divide us. And we're not going to let Roy Moore and his group divide us the way they have divided us in the past. We are coming together from all walks of life, talking about those kitchen table issues. Some of those issues, maybe we can get a little bit of dialogue going and what you're seeing, what you're hearing. But that is the most important thing that's been on our campaign. And it's just like I've said. You know, everybody I know in this room, you followed my career, you know the things I've done. But we did things because we knew, and we were able to accomplish them because we knew we were on the right side of history, and the right side of justice, and the right side of equality. You've heard me say it before. I believe at this moment and at this time, this campaign, and it's never been about me, it's been about you, and it's been about something bigger. That it's not just the campaign. We are on the right side of history for this special election. And with your help, on December 12th, we're going to make it happen and we're going to bring it home. So thank I have to say, y'all sit down. But what I love just about that was not just y'all standing up, but the fact that Mama Sewell stood up first and said, "Come on, let's go." That's right. So look, we're going to be here for a little bit. We got a nice setting to just check up here, Governor. You know, if y'all talk to us, tell us, and it's not just for me, okay? I've got one of the great leaders that this country has seen in a two-term governor, but head of the Civil Rights Division. Unfortunately, he left right before I became U.S. Attorney. So we didn't overlap, but I will tell you that he made a comment to me earlier. He said, you know, when I was at the Civil Rights Division, they started talking to me about that 16th Street Baptist Church bombing case. And I left, and doggone it, this guy over here is the one who get it done. So somebody, y'all, let's hear from you. Yes, sir.
Well, I do want to say that when this whole thing started, and Luther Strange and Roy Moore were running against each other, I had the feeling in my heart that if Alabama was ever going to have a Democratic senator, that this was the year for it to happen. And my God, the stars have arranged themselves, and the things that have happened, I think
Nothing but Jesus.
I believe you're destined to be our senator, sir.
Well, I appreciate that. It has been very humbling, and I think it is, with every campaign, there's a lot of hard work, and there's a lot of luck that goes into it. And we've been very, very fortunate in the way that we've run this campaign. We have our hiccups, but I think we've done it by staying true to who we are. And that's the most important thing to me, because I think all too often in this state, we have seen people that will say one thing in the primary and something different in the general election. And I just felt like very strong that it was time, that there were voices out there that had been so frustrated that hadn't been heard. And I think that that's part of it. Obviously, also, it's surprising to us that a political party would nominate someone with Roy Moore's background.
And the Family Values political party.
And the Family Values political party, that's correct. So things line up, we've worked hard, we're standing, and I hope you're right. We've had so many people, even before all of these disturbing stories came out about Roy Moore, who have simply said, it's time for a change. And we just can't do it, we're not going to do it. It's time for some leadership, and people understood. And this is hard for all of these folks. There's a segment in Alabama that always just wants to be defiant, and look where that's got us. Okay, I mean, we're still on the bottom rung in education places, but and so now they can still be defiant. They can vote for somebody who will be totally ineffective. Can't even get along with his own party, much less the other.
We have a regressive tax structure that assures that the poor people stay poor and the rich people get richer.
And this tax bill that we're currently considering is really bad.
I know,
Only
that could have been written for Alabama.
But for me, Washington's divisive. We need people who are about bringing people together.
Exactly.
And I can tell you that I need a partner. I know that the mayor needs a partner in Washington to help us bring resources back here to Alabama. But when I think about this election, what bothers me the most is that so many people in this room have been proud Alabamians all our life, and most of us have been ambassadors to this great state, right? And making sure that people know that we're not exactly like the stereotype. But all this does is reinforces the negative stereotype of our past. And we've had a painful past. But the reality is that Alabama's on the move. When I think about all of those car manufacturing companies that are coming here, Mercedes-Benz is in my district, Hyundai's in my district, and we want more of that. And I'm sorry, the face of more of that is not Roy Moore. The face of that is Doug Jones. And we need to come back. It's not too hard to go backwards.
That's right. Hi, I'm new in your city, and I'm impressed. I had the privilege of going to the 16th Street Church.
Yes, ma'am.
2 weeks ago.
Awesome.
I had never been there. I heard about it on the news. I'm from Buffalo, New York, Niagara Falls.
You're used to this cold weather.
When you say Buffalo, New York, you would automatically put us in the city. But I'm 20 minutes from Niagara Falls. But I'm impressed because I went to the 16th Street Baptist Church. And I also go to the council meetings, and I know the president and you, and the lady stand up over there. But I wanted to come to Selma when I retired. I knew Marie Foster. And so I moved down here, lock, stock, and barrel, all by myself. And my little doggy. I have no relatives here. I know nobody. So when I heard that you were the man that helped get the people that killed the kids and harmed the lady, the one that went blind and all that, and I said, wow, that is nice. Because I heard a little bit of chatter being new that Selma people are lazy and they won't go out and vote. And I said, well, this man did all of that, and he's for Selma. For Alabama, I mean, Now we got a chance to get out there because we got somebody that's gonna help drive us. So that's why I chose you, not knowing all that other crap, but now I am. You know, so that's why I chose you. And my name is Cecilia Mapp.
Thank you.
This has a lot of years wasting their vote.
Oh.
And now we have a chance to use our vote to get something done.
All right, let me say something about that, because I've heard that, and I understand. But I want to make sure that when we talk about this, because one of the things that we hear in this campaign is simply that there's a lot of folks around the state who will say, why should I get out the vote? It's just not going to do any good. It's kind of a waste. It's a voice. And as long as that voice gets louder and louder, even if you lose, that voice is getting louder and louder. It's not. And I felt that way too. Boy, I felt that I've just gone to the polls and I've had to stand in line and it just didn't do any good. But I truly believe that where we are now is, and it's going to continue, I think, into 2018. This is something where people are beginning to say, you know, elections have consequences. And those consequences can even make a difference, even if for some reason a candidate that you support doesn't get across the finish line, because this movement is there and it's going to be there to stay. I really believe that. So we got to make sure we get folks, and I'm excited. And don't take anything I just said as somehow saying I'm not going to win. Let me make perfectly clear. We're going to win this race. But it's been frustrating for us in Alabama, and that's one reason that my wife and I decided that it was time to get out, for folks to feel like that they had a purpose and that they could, you know, a candidacy that they could be proud of and count on. And I think we've done a pretty good job of doing that.
Do you mind if I add something?
Yeah.
You know, I've run for just one thing, 2 times. And you know,
That's a pretty good record.
We had 16 years of Republican governors, the last of whom was Mitt Romney, a fine guy, but somebody who, like a lot of his predecessors, was more interested in having the job than doing the job. And he had all kinds of folks say in Massachusetts, you know, you have 2% name recognition, no money, no organization, and you haven't grown up in the system. Why should I waste my vote? And I've come to understand that in a democracy, we get the government we deserve. And if we want better government, we have to take personal responsibility for it every time. Not just when, you know, there's a lot of buzz in the campaign, not just when it's a big office, every time. And I would ask you to do one other thing, because you're all here, you are taking personal responsibility, but bring 5 people with you. When you go to the polls, go get somebody else. Go check on your neighbors and your friends and have those conversations with the people you know disagree with you. You know, Thanksgiving just came, we all had those family members around the table. Oh my God. You have to have those conversations, you have to engage, because frankly there is power in the respect shown, in showing up and asking people to see their stake, not in this campaign, but their own civic and political future, and that's how we'll get across.
And frankly, you know, we're in ground zero, this church. When I think about the movement, I mean, you know, people bled, died, fought for the opportunity to vote. If anyone should understand the importance of it, you would think Alabamians would understand that. But we've got to make sure that we, each one take one and go to the polls. Because the only way our voices can be amplified is if we go to the polls and we vote. And we vote like our life depends on it, because guess what? It really does. Government affects every part of our life. From our local, our state, our federal, it affects every part of our life. So we've got to make sure that we earn those stripes and remember our civic engagement.
Just wanted to piggyback on what you were saying. I too am a member of church, and Terry is like my other sister, and T. Nancy is my other mother. But in my heart, I do believe that if people go to the polls, they will vote for you. The problem here is getting them to the polls.
Amen.
And if I were you, if I were a big part of making the decisions, what I would do is, between today and Tuesday, I would push hard on African American radio, and particularly in the evening time where it's Christian music and so on and so on. And I would just ask them to go out and vote, because if they go, they will vote for you. They will. They won't vote for more. They will vote for you. It is getting from point A to point B. Now, some of us are involved with getting people to the polls in terms of rides and that kind of thing. But if it doesn't click that I'm needed, they won't necessarily go. But if they go, they will vote for you.
Well, I can tell you this, I'm not sure we can actually buy more because we are gluttonous. I mean, we've got a lot out there. We've been really blessed with our fundraising, and it has allowed us to do a lot with both radio, some targeted social media. There's not a spot to be bought at this point. I think I'm serious about that. We've got a lot that is going to be out there in the next 72 hours.
We have City Councilwoman Jamie Thomas.
Yes, I would like to. The reason why I listen to everybody talk, and the reason why I say this because I'm very active in political campaigning and organizing, because I am a real organizer. And in the South, I'm a grassroots. And the reason why I say that we have to do the groundwork. The day of that Tuesday, be prepared for Monday. You need vehicles out there, because you know why? We don't have to go out and knock on doors, because I know this here in Selma. You have to be able to have a van in each ward to be riding around all day and have you somebody carrying, getting out, knocking on doors, because you got a lot of elder people. They want to go vote, but a lot of people don't have rides. And you have to be out to go out and knock on the door and ask them, do they start 7 o'clock that morning? Because the poll open at 7. The elders are up. And you have to be out to get out there to knock and take them to the poll. Even some of the young people, you have to encourage them and to be able to tell them why it's important that you vote. And I've been volunteer to this Doug Jones campaign for a minute. I've been out putting out signs. I've been out absentee ballots. In my ward, that's what we do. We make sure that our vote are heard, because it means a lot. And so I devoted my time to volunteer to make sure that the people in my area go out and vote. So we have to have, you're going to have to put peoples out. We have 8 wards, and you're going to have people constantly riding through the wards, and you're going to have people that be able to contact people and talk to people, encourage them to go to the polls. This is how we're going to have to get the votes out of Selma.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
In 1965, I was in this church as a 9th grader, listening to Dr. King and many others as they talked. At that time, I did not realize the historical significance of what we were doing. It took many, many years and a lot of talking and listening and looking to realize the impact that Selma has had on the nation. But we, and when I say we, I mean the adults my age, we did not share our history with our children. And so there's an ignorance for the young folks about the importance of voting, about what we did. But I would like to see you appeal more to women, because women respond to the mistreatment of children. And what Roy Moore did was deplorable. He should not be in Washington. We women should not be strong, because our children are going to lose out if this man gets to Washington. I'm a teacher, and I talk to my children every day about Donald Trump and the mess he is creating in D.C., and they do not get it. They say, Ms. Bard, you don't like him, you are against him. I'm saying to them, if we go to war, you are the soldiers. Everything that this man is doing is going to impact you, I teach 12th graders, as the next generation of young adults. You need to be aware of what's happening in your world. I registered all of my 18-year-olds so that they can vote. Roy Moore, he makes me shame. A lot of the people that are against Roy Moore will not say it publicly. There are more people against him than are for him. But for some reason, we good Southern folks don't like to air dirty laundry. So when they put the mic at our mouths, we shut up, and you can tell by the body language. Some of them don't like it. But I'll vote for someone else, I'll write in, they will not say that we need to vote for you.
Well, that's okay.
Some of them secretly will.
No,
I believe that.
I believe that.
I believe that they are going to vote for you.
You know, and let me say this, from the very beginning of this campaign, even before all of these stories, women's issues have been really at the top of our list. I mean, we believe all along. I mean, one of the first people to endorse this campaign was Lilly Ledbetter. Lilly Ledbetter, who did the Equal Pay for Equal Work Act. It was the first bill that President Obama signed. She spoke with us in Selma the other day. Healthcare goes to women's issues in a big, big way, especially in this state. There's so many single moms out there with kids that are taking their children to emergency rooms for routine health care. So we've done, I think, consistently talked about women's issues, and we have seen an incredible effort, especially on social media with the women's groups. A lot of them just sprung up after Donald Trump's election, but we have focused on those issues as a positive of what we wanted to do, as opposed to the negative about who somebody might be, because it's easy to make that connection. And I think folks are getting it, and I think what's happened recently is even more, it's kind of emphasizing that even more. I'll tell you, we had a forum once during the primary, and all of us, at that time there were 8 of us, Democratic candidates were in the botanical gardens. And we all had, I hated the damn things. I shouldn't say that in church.
God said that.
I didn't like those because, they said, okay, you've got 30 seconds or a minute to give an opening. We're going to ask questions. You've got a minute and a half, and you can't really do very much. And so when we got through with that, I noticed that there was a couple of things on Facebook where someone had come down, a female who's been pretty active, and said she was really disappointed that it was only until like 2/3 of the way through that anybody mentioned women's issues, and that was me talking about how I got in the race with my wife going to the Women's March. And I will be honest with you, I told Louise, I said, I cannot believe this. I cannot believe that I let myself go through that entire program without talking about the issues that are important to you and important to this game. I was deflated. I'm going to tell you on a personal level, you always make mistakes when you're out there on the stump. You do things, and you make a faux pas every now and then. Maybe not as many as my buddy Joe Biden, but you make a few. Okay? But that was one that was just deflating me. I was both angry and sad that I would not do that. So we've really been there on those issues, and I think if people look at my website and other things, they will know. And you listen to Terry and the other women that we've got that are going around speaking for us, because it's very important. But the other day, this is about all I'm going to say about this in this setting. The other day when I gave a speech in Birmingham, I basically said, with regard to the current stuff, we've got an opportunity here, and the question is going to be, what are we going to say to our daughters and granddaughters? Are we going to say that Alabama will stand with you and believe you no matter when, and support you no matter when you may make your concerns known? Or will we tell our sons and grandsons that this is okay, that this behavior is okay? I think I know how Alabama's going to answer that question. I really believe they're going to answer that question the way everybody in this room wants them to answer that question.
And speaking of 1965 and doing positive things, We could use a motor rights act whenever y'all.
Yes, I have the seminal bill to restore the Voting Rights Act. And we
I'm
need
committed to
people
help.
on the Senate side to actually get it moving. And that's what I mean by help. Help is finally on the way, and I'm excited about this.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm Yvonne Hatcher, a registered nurse for 40 years. I am a woman. I do believe in things being good for the woman in the workplace. I appreciate all of the educational things that are done for our children. But please do not forget the elderly. Our elders, some say they should have everything that they need by now in their age. They don't. Some of them are spending more to maintain where they are than they are receiving in to go forward. I have spent several days going out talking to them in residential areas. We have done absentee ballots for the elderly. But there are some things in Medicaid and Medicare that does not cover all of the needs that they have. I thank God for the ability to have been able to serve some of them at the level in the gap. So I just want to help somebody know that there are some areas in the lifestyle and daily needs of the elderly that are not being met. Even if Medicaid and Medicare are there are still needs. So please don't forget them.
Well, yeah, without getting into too much detail, let me tell you, I know from personal experience that's going on right now. The same week that I announced this campaign, I had to move my mom and dad out of their home that they were at into a mom in an assisted living and dad next door into long-term care because of his dementia. And I've seen, we were part of that middle class that had, and they built that nice little nest egg, and now it's having to dwindle and dwindle and dwindle. And it's sad for them. I keep telling them that, look, this is not about me and my sister. This is your money. But they wanted to do things for their children and grandchildren. And it has been a very difficult summer dealing with that as well as trying to run this campaign. So I am acutely aware of the issues that are out there and the fact that that affects so many other of Alabama's citizens that are in that boat. And so,
I know
you're talking to the right candidate.
I'm so glad. I'm so glad.
Our social safety net's full of holes.
Yes, it is. It is. Yes, sir.
I just want to say, I know most of the folks here, I'm a community banker. My father and my grandfather worked for me. And speaking of my father, he would be incredibly proud of you, Terry, and Kay, and Dana, and the other gals that grew up together if he was still alive. But the first thing he taught me when I went into the bank was character. If you're going to make a loan to a person, character. If he doesn't have character, he's going to get you every time. Don't make him loan. And that's where we are right now in this campaign. Where is decency? Where is character? Now, you need to get out of here and go to a bigger church and get some more votes. Because you're preaching to the choir right now.
Well, we're gonna work our way up. I think Governor Patrick's going in different places for us. We're gonna work our way up. Senator Cory Booker's coming in for an event in Montgomery with us tonight. We've got some things in Birmingham and Huntsville going on tonight, and churches tomorrow in Birmingham, and then back on the road Monday for the final push. I will tell you, when we started out, everybody was saying, well, the good thing, Doug, is this is a short campaign. I mean, I'm not like some of those. I'll tell you, that sure hadn't seemed short to me. I'm telling you, every day seems like we're 48 hours long. So, but I think we're kind of wrapped up here. I'm not sure what we're doing on time. Usually got staff back there doing some stuff. Yes, ma'am. Yeah, go ahead.
So, as somebody that lived in Massachusetts during Governor DeVal Patrick's 2 terms.
I'm holding my breath.
No, I loved it. I loved it. I actually drove all the way up from Lower Alabama to come see you.
Oh,
And we're also going to the Birmingham. I've been to a lot of these events. What I've realized, and as someone who's just now politically engaged and civically engaged, I mean, I've always been civically engaged, but not to the level I am now. I think what the conservative or Republicans have that we don't have, and I don't know why, if we can learn anything from them, is they feel like it's a duty, an American duty, a civic duty to go and vote. It doesn't even matter what the election is. They should, like, their parents take them, their grandparents take them, and it's informed and instilled in them. How can we do that in our side, not our side, but like as a community in general, especially, with the Voting Rights Act here, because I helped put together that forum that you were in on the 52nd anniversary. So like for me, and my generation that grew up, we don't know any of the struggle and any of the things. So we take everything for granted. So for us, unless like, it's a nice day, my friend's going, or like a candidate inspires us, we don't go to vote. And I was guilty of one of them. I was there when Scott Brown was elected after Senator Kerry was moved to the State Department. So how do we do that? I guess as you've gone into the campaign trails and seen all of this, and you're all elected officials, what could we do as your constituents, your community, to help instill that?
Well, I don't know how they would answer. I'll just give you my sense. I think some of it's like a pendulum. I think that the conservative folks, starting with Ronald Reagan, were not happy with the way the direction of the country was going. And they started rallying around. And they had candidates like Reagan who could talk to people. And they weren't divisive. Reagan was not a divisive kind of guy. I mean, I didn't agree with a lot, but he wasn't really divisive. And he had candidates that got to a point where they could talk about those and relate to people. And so that pendulum started swinging, and those folks said, okay, we've got to get out to vote. If we want to make a difference, we've got to get out to vote. Well, then all of a sudden, that group has now started to splinter. And then now you've got some very divisive over there on that side of the aisle. And I think from what I'm seeing, and I started seeing it, I think, with the Women's March on January 21st, that all of a sudden good people who have sat back now have said elections have consequences. And if we don't like the direction that the state of Alabama is going, the only way we can do something about it is to get out to vote. And I think you've seen that in the state when you've seen a governor having to leave office, a chief justice having to leave office, Speaker of the House having to leave office. People are saying, holy cow, it does matter. And so there's part evolution in that. And I think if you just remind people that elections have consequences and only look past the last couple of elections, it ought to give them as much incentive as possible to get out there. You may have a different take on that.
No, I agree with that. What's your name?
Han?
Han?
Yes.
Where did you live?
I lived in both Cambridge and Boston. I went to BU, so I was like all Kenmore and everything.
Very good.
I
Very
think
good.
we have a lot of
Nice to
friends.
see you here.
Thank you.
I agree. I agree with what Doug has said. I think that that you've heard this line that Democrats fall in love and Republicans fall in line. We should wait to be persuaded. I think that I really do believe that we have to put more emphasis on what's right with us and what we're trying to do than we do on what's wrong with them. We spend a tremendous amount of time, I feel. And I'm the sort of Democrat that doesn't think you have to hate Republicans to be a good Democrat, so I want to be clear. But I think we perfect our argument about what's wrong with them. We don't say a whole lot about what we're for. People want to vote for something, right? They want to vote for something. So I'm very interested in, and I think candidate Obama really reminded us of the power of having a positive, forward-looking campaign that was about us, and could articulate that vision. And then I'd go back to something I said earlier, which is the importance of making it personal. When you said that you see folks on the hard right who treat it like a responsibility and they take their kids and their grandkids, that's exactly what we should be doing. We took our kids to my wife and I, we've been married 33 years, our kids have grown We have a grandson, we took them to when they were still in the house, every time we voted. And let them hold the pencil, that might be against the law. Hold the pencil, so, yeah.
My
It's
granddaughters are doing the same thing with my daughter.
See, why, if it's the Senate in the House, just call the president, ask for it, okay? And the person in charge of the House and the person in charge of the Senate get together and decide that we're gonna pass this, whether it's good for the country or not. How come the Senate and the House don't have enough sense to say no?
Terry, that was yours.
I'll take that one on December 13th.
I'll take that now. We have to start electing people who are willing to compromise. Right now, we have a House and a Senate that was elected by people who want to blow up government. Do you know that the whole Tea Party movement? So there are lots of folks on the House side, I can speak for the House side, that don't believe in government. Now, why they're a part of government and making decisions for government, and they don't believe in government is bad. But this is why you have to vote. This is why you're amplifying your voice through voting is so critically important. We have to vote for people. We have to vote for people and send people to Washington who are willing to do the hard work of sitting down at a table with someone who doesn't agree with you on the other side, but cares about their people just as much as you care about your people, and are willing to compromise.
But they don't care about the people. They care about the rich.
The American public has to take back the House and the Senate. The American public. That's exactly why you should vote for Doug. Exactly. And so, to me, the optimism I feel is that we in Alabama, all eyes are on us. We have an opportunity, I think, to show the world that we do care about each other. That we have a chance it's more than just about Doug. It's really about we the people. And to stand up and make our voices heard. Because here's the thing, people think of Alabama as backward already. And all we're doing is reinforcing that by sending someone who doesn't share all of our views, who's not going to take care of all the people, that's not going to fight for the justice of everyone. And he's a lawyer, but he was a judge who broke the law. And this is a federal prosecutor who went to the ends of the earth to get this Klansman who killed 4 little girls. Okay, so the contrast is stark. Okay. This is important. We only have 3 more days, guys. 3 more days. And I'm just so grateful that Senator Doug Jones to existence that which we want to see. And Governor Deval Patrick and our mayor, we're all here because we want you all to be as excited and as energized and motivated to go to the polls and take your neighbor, take your kids, don't go by yourself. Think of plans how you can pick up an elderly person who doesn't have a way to the polls, to Councilwoman Thomas's point. We need to make sure that we are doing everything we can to put in Congress people who are willing to compromise and work for the good of all Americans, not just a small slice.
Let me come with you. You get right down to it. The Social Security under Reagan. Say what you want to. He wasn't who. We let him get the Social Security box open. Now the government says they ain't got the money to pay Social Security. Reagan, Trump trying to do away with it here.
And Social Security is so
And the House and
I know. This is money you paid in.
Where the House and Senate did not have to approve it.
Look, I agree. We could get on. Let me say, because we got to run to some new next events. Let me say a couple things. First of all, I want to thank Congresswoman Sewell for being here. The mayor, especially Governor Patrick, and all of you for coming. And so the last thing I would say, especially after listening to Congresswoman Sewell on her soapbox. The only thing I can say at this point is, I'm Doug Jones and I approve that.